What's up everyone? Today I want to talk about Crash Team Racing for the PS1. For the last couple of weeks I've had a craving to go back and play it. A serious craving. I've watched a couple of reviews, I saw how fun it looked, and I remember when I was a kid playing it many times with my friends in the battle mode, playing the adventure mode. Loved it. And coincidentally enough, at the Game Awards 2018, what happened? The remake was announced for the PS4 in 2019, at least I hope it's 2019. So I said, fuck it, I went back, I played it, I did a couple of time trials, I did a cup or two, and I cleared the adventure mode. And I have to say, it's still as good as I remember. It's really good. For me, it's probably my favourite kart racer. Compared to all the Mario Kart, the Sonic All-Stars Transformed, Diddy Kong Racing, Crash Team Racing is probably my favourite kart racer. And there's a number of reasons for it, so let's start with its character. I don't mean Crash Bandicoot himself, I mean just the character that you can feel throughout the whole game. Starting with the intro cutscene. The game is introduced with a space alien called Nitrous Oxide showing up, claiming that he is the fastest racer in the galaxy and he wants to challenge the fastest racer on this world. If he wins, he's going to turn the planet into a parking lot for some strange reason. And if he loses, he'll leave the planet alone and leave it in peace. What makes this intro cutscene so great is what follows, and that is, you see a brief clip of some of the kart racers, and it displays perfectly their personality. For example, with Coco, you see her with her computer connected to the kart and she's modifying it. This is a great way of showing her geeky side along with her intelligence. Then you move to Tiny, where he is literally just bashing his kart randomly with a hammer. This shows his tendency to use brute force above all else. Then of course you have Cortex, who is using this large machine to shoot electricity at his kart while laughing maniacally, really showing his character of the mad scientist. And of course then you get Crash, and he's doing what we all expect Crash to be doing. Nothing, just lying next to his kart fast asleep, showing his relaxed nature and his chilled out attitude towards life in general, that like we saw back in the original Crash trilogy on the PS1. So I watched the intro, I was thoroughly entertained. Then I started some time trials. At first it was a bit tricky because I hadn't played this game in like 10 to 12 years. So it took time, but eventually I got used to it. And I was feeling good. I beat the time trial then. I'm forgetting the name, but it's the blue guy who in Crash Bandicoot 3, the villain who controls time. I can't believe I just forgot his name, I'm blanking right now. But basically when you get a certain lap time in the track, he'll show up. Then you beat him. It took me a while to beat him on the first track. And when I did, I was like, yes, I did it. I'm back. And then Oxide shows up, his ghost, you have to beat him. Now I hope. I spent way too much time trying to beat Joe. I was like, Joe, what? It's not worth it. I'll settle for what I have and I'll just go back and play a couple more tracks. After a good time spending time trials, I was like, I think I've had enough of this. I stressed myself out enough trying to beat some of these times, so I said, let's just do what I came here to originally do. Adventure mode. Now, this game, it's no secret, this was inspired by Diddy Kong Racing. And that had an adventure mode that Crash kind of, I wouldn't say copied, but was inspired by and did their own. Personally, I prefer Crash. I've never played Diddy Kong, let's get it straight. But I have seen people play through the adventure mode, and honestly, I prefer Crash's. Theirs is just weird. Diddy Kong is just weird with their adventure mode. With its adventure mode, it has an elephant on a flying carpet. It has a clock that it's supposed to seem alive. These random bosses, a giant rhino as the villain, a space rhino or something. And I was like, don't get me wrong. I guess it's weird that there's a space alien in Crash, but for some reason that makes more sense than Diddy Kong. But the one thing I did like with Diddy Kong is that a lot of kart racers were future characters that would be beloved by the gamers, such as Banjo, Conker, and I'm not quite sure what anyone else. I'm not as familiar with that game, of course, as compared to CTR. But the thing I like about Crash is that every character in it is recognisable throughout the PS1 Crash trilogy, and each one has their own type of skill. So when you click adventure mode, it shows you their stats. Like for example, Crash Bandicoot is made for kind of like normal difficulty, for people who are good at the game but aren't masters. People who are new to the game, they would pick someone like the small polar bear or tiger that you would ride along the Great Wall of China and the snow levels in Crash Bandicoot 2 and 3. And then for people who are kind of really good at the game, have a good handle in it, you can play as Tiny or Dingodile. And then there's a bunch of unlockables then as well, like Papu Papu, what's his name? The crazy blue guy in straight jacket. I know his name, I'm blanking. And who else? Oh, and Komodo Joe. These characters also show up as boss in the adventure. So, well, further, let's just cut to the adventure. So basically, adventure mode. You start off, you pick your racer, you start. There's 4 sections, areas, where around 4 races in each, along with an extra 1 or 2 in each one, depending on the area. And you go into and you have to come first in each one to win the golden trophy. Once you get 4, you get to face the boss of that area. So, Ripperoo! That's the guy in straight jacket's name. So, first area, Ripperoo's the boss. But you need him to open the door in order to face him. So you have to come first place in the 4 races in that area. There'll be a short cutscene. And that was a nice detail I liked in this game. The cutscenes weren't anything special. They were like 30 seconds, a minute at the most if you're lucky. But it's just a nice little feature just to have to add that little bit of story, some context to what you're doing. So you basically beat Ripperoo in the first section, and once you beat him, he gives you a key that allows you to open the door to move on to another section. And this goes through the other 3 bosses. And what makes the bosses different from a normal race is that you're facing one-on-one. But they usually seem to be a bit faster than the usual people in the races that you're currently playing on. The races do get harder as each section opens up. Obviously, it's that easy, normal, hard. Then the hardest level, I'm just going to call it Master. And basically, what makes them different is that in most races, the other AI that you face in adventure mode, they'll pick up an item. It could be a missile, bomb, TNT, all these different power-ups, and they'll use it. But each boss has a specific different power-up that they use on their track. So Ripperoo, for example, will keep tossing TNT crates behind me. And while I'm trying to catch up with this asshole, he's constantly throwing TNT that's just throwing me off my game and it's making me panic as shit because I'm trying to avoid them. And knowing not only if I get one, will I possibly blow up and lose progress, but even if I just tap one and I have to jump quick in order to get the TNT off you have to jump very quickly to get off you before blowing up. And that will slow my progress down as well. And other bosses in the other sections have similar power-ups. They have some drop nitro crates and some will drop bombs rolling back at you, and then others will drop potions that will throw you off balance. And they're not the hardest races, but they do make it a bit of a challenge. They do feel like a boss in the context of this kart racing game. So yeah, there's each section, and the tracks are great. No, they're not as detailed as you'd find in like a Mario Kart game per se, but they're still well done. They feel like Crash Bandicoot levels made into a track. They're not the most detailed, but you can tell you get the feel off them. And some of my personal favourites are like Sewer Speedway, which you're down the sewer and there's just a lot of nice long turns that you can drift. Cortex Castle, it's a tricky level, but the aesthetics are really well done. A big huge it's probably one of the better looking tracks in the game, just very well done. Then of course there's Crash Cove, which was actually one of the first tracks in Diddy Kong that the creators used when building this kart racer as a prototype. Then they sold some people in Sony and they gave them the green light to make it a Crash kart racer. At least that's my knowledge of the history of how this game was made. So yeah, and there's a lot more tracks. I think there's like 15, 17 tracks, and all of them are really well designed. Each one, none of them are really bad tracks. All of them have the right number of turns, the right number of jumps. See, the key to this game, to really being good at this game, is to get the drift mechanic down. Basically, you press R1, that jumps. The reason you have a jump is if you're going off a ramp or a ledge, if you press jump at the right time, when you land, you get a boost that propels you faster and gives you a bit more momentum. When you drift, you get this meter at it's either left or right hand corner, and it will build up. It will go from yellow to red, and when it gets to the highest part, if you hit at that right moment, you'll get the maximum amount of boost from that drift, or you just can't go and lose progress. And you could do this in multiple 3 times. You could do it once after the other 3 times in a row to build up speed. And if you incorporate just changing directions while different drifts. I know this sounds a bit more complicated than it really is, but it's a really good feature, and it just adds a little bit more like depth to the game mechanics and makes it a bit more skillful it's even in multiplayer. If everyone's good at drifting, it's always a lot more interesting because someone can fuck up when they're in the lead and someone just keeps have a consistent, good set of drifts going with a lot of boost. It can change the game and the race completely. So yeah, they're like the main mechanics of the game, and that drift mechanic, it's probably what makes it my favourite because the controls are just buttery smooth in this game. They're just tight, they feel good. Even after all these years, they hold up. They're still really good. They got a good feel to them. The boost from the drift, it just makes it so satisfying, and there's nothing better when you have a consistent set of boosts going and you just constantly this one drift after the other, jump off ledge, continuous drift, jump, drift. It's just, you feel like you are the game, you are in this game. You're not just playing it, you feel like you're in it at this point, and it's just a great feeling. So yeah, so at the end of adventure mode then, you face nitrous oxide, and this guy is an asshole of a boss. He'll start throwing all the nitro, the TNT, the bombs, the potions, they'll throw everything at you. And he does feel like a final boss. He might be a bit cheap, all non-stop barrage items he's throwing at you, but it is possible to beat him. It's just really tricky. But that's around it for adventure mode. That's really all I want to really talk about properly in this game. This game is incredible. It's held up so well after all the years that it was released, and I cannot wait for the remake. And I really hope they keep the gameplay, the controls to feel the same way it is now, because they're near perfect. Just give it a better looking style, make the graphics better, maybe add a couple new tracks if possible. And this game, the remake, will be a success. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to play a multiplayer to face people this year. Well, in 2019. And if you're thinking of going back and replaying this game, or you've never have and you're thinking of playing it, I recommend it highly you do so. It is a fantastic kart racer and is well worth playing. Thank you, I'll see you next time.